I am Margaret Collins, 59 years of age, without a husband, residing in a peaceful area of Oregon. For almost 20 years, I have been employed as an administrative supervisor at a legal practice. I brought up 2 kids, my daughter Emily, who recently celebrated her 32nd birthday, and my son Luke, who is 29, dedicating much of my grown life to ensuring they would never face the hardships I experienced. On a recent Tuesday, I got an electronic message that altered my entire world. The sender was Emily. There was no subject heading, only her name appearing in my mail. I grinned before reading it, assuming it might be a brief message or an affectionate note ahead of her important occasion. We had recently discussed her marriage arrangements several weeks prior. I had already given $30,000 to assist her in reserving the location, hiring a picture taker and booking the flower arranger she had adored since her university days. However, upon reading the message, my grin disappeared. "Mother," the message began. Not affectionate mother, simply mother, like an identifier. Emily described that she, together with her future husband Andrew and his relatives, had completed the invitation roster for the celebration in Napa Valley. Following considerable deliberation, they determined it would be preferable for me to observe the marriage through internet streaming, not physically present. She mentioned that Andrew's mother was selective regarding the attendee total and preferred to maintain things personal. Toward the conclusion, she added a sentence that seemed like injury to an existing hurt. "Should you wish to participate, you may view it via the Google Meet connection we have established. It ought to be identical to attending personally." Laughing out loud. Laughing out loud. I gazed at that display for an extended period. My beverage became tepid. My hands remained steady. I shed no tears. Something within me silently transformed, like the earth had fractured beneath. Yet I remained upright. I responded with merely 4 terms. "Certainly. Have a wonderful, important occasion. Without sentiment, without dispute, simply a peaceful retreat." And I understood profoundly that those 4 terms would resonate more powerfully than any outcry. I had no desire to argue. I had no desire for weeping. I desired understanding. I desired the quietness to communicate independently. I shut the computer, consumed my now tepid beverage, and prepared for employment as though it were an ordinary Tuesday. However, it was not. That marked the occasion I ceased acting as though my offerings held significance to my daughter. That marked the occasion everything started to transform. The journey to the workplace that morning was silent. Oregon's initial springtime atmosphere still contained a coldness, yet I scarcely registered it. My thoughts continued, returning to the identical inquiry. How did our situation reach this point? I have dedicated 18 years laboring at Caldwell Walker Law. It lacks prestige, yet it provides reliability. And reliability was my requirement following my husband's unexpected passing when our children remained adolescents. I recall standing before our aged laundry machine, financial obligations scattered across the surface, attempting to determine how to purchase both food supplies and Emily's approaching university payment. During that period, I never hesitated regarding relinquishing my rest days. I accepted additional work periods, terminated planned trips, missed birthday celebrations. I convinced myself opportunities for myself would arrive subsequently. They never materialized. Each dollar I accumulated went to Emily and Luke. When Emily altered her academic focus twice and required additional courses, I financed it. When she relocated across the nation for a brief employment opportunity in New York, I funded her initial payment and airline fare. When she wept throughout her second relationship ending at 27, I traveled there, supported her emotionally, and prepared her warm drinks in an unfamiliar dwelling. When Luke desired to purchase a residence with his future wife, I guaranteed the loan and provided the initial $10,000 payment without pause. I never maintained records. That is what mothers perform, correct? However, that message made me experience being a commercial exchange as though I had been beneficial and presently was not. As though I possessed an expiration period and it had concluded. Returning to the workplace, my supervisor Robert visited my workstation. He represents those uncommon men who recall special dates and your beverage preferences. He detected something was incorrect immediately. "You appear as though you have encountered something shocking," he stated, placing a beverage from the establishment below on my workstation. I desired to inform him. I desired to express my daughter recently excluded me from her marriage. Yet instead, I grinned and mentioned I had not rested adequately. He did not press further. That minor gesture of consideration, the beverage, the quietness, nearly overwhelmed me. Following all the mental turmoil that morning, it reminded me that I continued existing, that I continued having value, even if merely quietly. During the midday meal period, my telephone vibrated. Emily once more. Her identity illuminated my display like a beacon. I had no desire for recorded messages, written messages. "Mother, please respond. We must communicate. This is not amusing." I did not listen to any messages, not presently. I simply remained there consuming my beverage and considered. Perhaps the moment has arrived to cease being the individual who constantly responds. Perhaps the moment has arrived to cease performing a function in another person's narrative when they refuse to permit you upon the platform. That afternoon, I reached a determination that would alter the foundation beneath all of us. I would not raise my voice. I would not plead. I intended to perform something significantly more impactful. I intended to take measures. Following employment, I did not proceed directly to my residence. I traveled to First Federal Bank several buildings away from the workplace. Carlos, the facility administrator, had assisted me with various matters from establishing university accounts to modifying retirement allocations. He consistently acknowledged me by identity. Mrs. Collins, he grinned, rising to offer his hand. What may I accomplish for you presently? I positioned myself opposite him and set my bag upon the surface. My tone was composed, perhaps excessively composed. I require canceling a money transmission, I stated. He appeared surprised. The transmission to the Napa location, correct? That transmission, Carlos paused. There might be a termination charge depending on scheduling. However, may I inquire why? The situation has altered, I answered, without expanding. He examined something upon his display. You possess fortunate timing. It has not completed processing yet. Precisely timely. He paused, then regarded me. Are you certain, Mrs. Collins? $50,000 represents a substantial sum, I acknowledged. I am certain. $50,000. That represented the sum I had intended to transmit subsequently, in addition to the $30,000 already departed. $80,000 total for a marriage I was prohibited from attending. I authorized the required documentation and departed the financial institution without reconsidering. Upon arriving at my residence, there existed 9 unanswered calls from Emily, 2 from Luke. One recorded message simply stated, "Mother, please do not perform this." I deactivated my telephone within the kitchen. I obtained the container of red wine I had been preserving for Thanksgiving. I had not accessed it during that occasion. Emily was expected to visit, yet she terminated final moment employment, she claimed. I dispensed a portion, transported it outdoors to the entrance area, and positioned myself in the diminishing sunlight. Birds vocalized in the vegetation. A nearby resident's animal barked. Everything seemed motionless, and subsequently, the recollections started arriving in surges. All the birthday celebrations I organized alone, all the seasonal festive meals where I acted as though I was not anticipating a communication that never materialized, all the minor offerings that nobody registered, the new footwear I did not acquire, the vehicle I operated for 14 years, the journeys I delayed. I considered Andrew's mother, the woman who minimally knew Emily. Nevertheless, her perspective carried greater significance than mine. The woman whose concept of relatives meant excluding the singular individual who had supported Emily throughout each difficult period of her existence. I considered the manner Emily concluded her message with, laughing out loud, as though observing your own daughter's marriage through a display was humorous. And ultimately, I considered myself not as a mother, not as a widow, yet as a woman. What did I desire? Tranquility, self-respect, an existence that did not center on being beneficial to individuals who exclusively appeared when they required something. That evening, approximately 9 o'clock in the evening, the entrance signal sounded. I considered disregarding it, yet inquisitiveness overcame me. It was Luke, still in his workplace attire, neckwear loosened, sleeves elevated. He appeared uncomfortable, grasping his telephone in one hand like protection. "Mother," he stated, entering before I could communicate, "why are you not responding to your telephone? Emily is experiencing distress." I closed the entrance calmly. "Greetings to you as well." He exhaled, already moving about. "She claims you are not attending the marriage presently, that you are being problematic." I laughed. Problematic for not attending a marriage I was excluded from. He shifted uncomfortably. "Andrew's parents are financing most of the expense." "Mother, you understand how conventional they are." I elevated an eyebrow. "Conventional? I already financed $30,000. I was preparing to provide $50,000 additional." "That is not convention. That is a financial arrangement." He froze. "Wait, you were transmitting another 50? Was I stated, consuming my wine? However, not presently." Luke's expression went colorless. "Mother, they are depending on that. The location, the nourishment, the not my concern presently," I stated uniformly, his tone elevated. "Naturally, it is your concern. She is your daughter, and I am her mother," I stated quietly. A mother who was instructed to remain at her residence and observe from a display. He moved his hands through his hair, visibly disturbed. "You constantly make everything regarding yourself." And that was it. That was the instant something within me ultimately yielded. "Depart from my residence." What? You perceived me, Luke? Depart, mother. No. I stated, firm yet gentle. I have provided everything I possessed, and I am finished being the antagonist in a narrative I composed with affection. Luke remained there for a moment longer, then rotated and departed. The entrance clicked behind him quietly, yet it seemed more powerful than any forceful closure. I remained in the center of my living area, heart racing, and recognized something startling. I did not experience remorse. I experienced liberation. The subsequent morning, I awakened to 43 unanswered calls and a sequence of desperate messages from Emily. They commenced with passive, hostile remorse. Mother, we must communicate. Why are you performing this? This is immature. Subsequently, the tone transformed. The location recently contacted, the financial transaction did not complete. We are going to forfeit everything if we do not finance by the following day. Andrew's parents are irate. They stated this demonstrates they were correct regarding you. At 3:24 in the morning, she transmitted, I do not comprehend why you are performing this to me. I grinned into my beverage. Naturally, she did not comprehend. Emily had matured with my offerings, integrated so thoroughly into her existence that she never paused to examine where the ease originated from. The protection, the reliability. She simply presumed it would constantly be available, that I would constantly be available. However, not this occasion. Subsequently that morning, while I was examining agreements at my workstation, an electronic message appeared in my personal mailbox. The subject heading read, Please do not destroy my marriage. I accessed it without anticipation. Mother, she composed, I understand you are disturbed regarding the live streaming situation. However, this is excessive. We have forfeited the location payment, and if we do not finance the remaining amount by conclusion of day Paris time, the food provider withdraws. Andrew's parents are extremely disturbed. They are claiming this demonstrates you cannot be reasoned with. Please do not perform this. We can discuss you attending the celebration, however, we require the finances first. There it existed. They were prepared to discuss permitting me to attend presently that the money was absent. Not an expression of regret, not a consideration, a bargaining. As though my attendance at my own daughter's marriage could be negotiated, acquired, or exchanged, depending on how charitable I was experiencing. I did not respond. I closed the message and returned to my employment. During midday and Robert visited my workstation midday meal, he proposed. That new Italian establishment recently opened. I almost refused, as I typically did. However, something in me transformed. Perhaps it was the understanding of the previous 24 hours. Perhaps I simply required to position myself somewhere that did not request anything from me. Therefore, I acknowledged. I would appreciate that. Over pasta, he informed me about his descendants and how draining yet magnificent it was to pursue them. His expression was gentle, authentic. He paused and stated gently, Excuse me, Margaret. However, you seem more unburdened presently. I surprised myself. I informed him everything regarding Emily, the message, the marriage, the money, and what I performed. When I concluded, he did not evaluate. He did not attempt to resolve anything. He simply stated, Occasionally, the most challenging aspect of affection is establishing limitations, particularly with the individuals we have provided the most to. He extended across the surface and briefly compressed my hand. I believe you performed the correct action. For the initial occasion in an extended period, I believed that as well. When I returned to my workstation, there existed additional calls, additional written messages. However, I did not respond. I did not require to because, for the initial occasion, my quietness communicated extensively. That evening, as I arrived into my driveway, the atmosphere was already darkening. The entrance illumination activated mechanically. Everything appeared motionless, peaceful, even. However, there existed someone positioned on my front stairs. As I approached nearer, I identified her, Sophia. She rose rapidly, removing invisible particles from her garment. Sophia had been Emily's closest companion since 5th educational year. She dedicated countless rest days at our residence, creating baked goods, viewing films, giggling in sleeping containers until morning. I had not encountered her in years. Mrs. Collins, she stated softly. I apologize to appear by like this. It is acceptable, I answered, accessing the entrance. Would you desire some warm beverage? She accompanied me into the kitchen, her vision examining the familiar surfaces. They contained aged resonances. I occupied the heating vessel and waited. Emily transmitted you. I ultimately inquired. She did not respond immediately. Subsequently, she is in turmoil. They forfeited the location. The flower provider withdrew. Andrew's parents are threatening to terminate the marriage. I stated nothing, positioning 2 containers on the surface. She is experiencing panic, Sophia continued. She understands she committed an error. She simply does not understand how to repair it. Is that why you are present? I inquired. To repair it? She rotated her head. No, I am present to inquire. Is there anything she can communicate or perform to alter her mind? I paused. Was there? Would an expression of regret alter the manner? It seemed to be excluded. To be utilized like a financial institution? To be informed you are not acceptable unless your money is. I regarded Sophia, still youthful, still optimistic. No, I stated quietly. There is not. Her posture diminished. Not even if she expresses regret. I provided her a container of warm beverage. Terms are simple, Sophia, particularly when individuals are desperate. However, the individuals who care for you, they do not wait until you separate them to perceive you. Sophia regarded downward into her warm beverage, acknowledging slowly. I comprehend it, she stated, even if she does not. I apologize. Mrs. Collins, you do not require to be, I answered. We remained in quietness for a moment, two women from different generations connected by one difficult reality. Occasionally, affection has boundaries. Occasionally, the exclusive method to be perceived is to depart. Sophia did not remain extended. She did not attempt to dispute. She simply expressed gratitude, embraced me gently, and departed back into the darkness. And I ultimately closed the entrance on a representation of myself I had extended surpassed. The marriage never occurred, not as they intended. Regardless, they struggled to locate another location. However, everything was either reserved or excessively costly without the money I had once committed. According to Luke, they concluded performing a minor backyard celebration weeks, subsequently just to limited relatives and Andrew's parents. I was not invited, and this occasion I did not require to be. In the weeks that accompanied, Emily transmitted one additional message, an extended one. Sentimental, partial expression of regret, partial defense. I examined it once, subsequently archived it. I was not irate anymore, simply finished. There exists a peculiar component that arrives with relinquishing, not in fury, however in understanding for the initial occasion in decades. I awakened, not questioning who required something from me, not preparing for another remorse journey disguised as affection. I established a new principle for myself. If my attendance is debatable, subsequently, so is my endeavor. I proceed to employment. I examine novels. I participated in a clay class. I have evening meals with companions who perceive me, not what I can provide them. And I have discovered something I desire, I had understood sooner. You do not have to consume yourself to maintain others heated. If this narrative resonated with you, distribute it, provide feedback below, and do not forget to appreciate and follow. Occasionally, the most powerful kind of affection is the one you ultimately provide to yourself.